RSPs first. Welcome to the RSP's mission. Launch of the Aries II, carrying the Thunder Capsule. This mission is so we are live now. Okay. This is a mission where we will carry a new capsule up into low Earth orbit. If you're wondering why we are not on the ball today, it's because we've kind of had a little bit of a problem with setting this up. We are currently T-minus 5 minutes until liftoff. I will hand you over to US 24, our flight director, to give a brief description of the vehicle.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is US 24, and I am the flight director for the Real Space program. Standing on the pad before you is the Real Space program's Aries II rocket. You might notice the lack of a crew tower that you saw in the static fire. That was because the crew tower had not been fully equipped with all of the equipment that is required to utilize for the crew. We are currently 15 minutes away from launch of the Aries II rocket.
Correction, 5.
Correction, we are currently 5 minutes away from the launch of the Aries II rocket. I'm taking a brief break from my usual role sitting in the flight director's chair to come up into the media booth today and show you what we do best, which is put our rockets into space. The first stage of the Aries II rocket is powered by 5 SpaceX Raptor engines. These engines burn methane and liquid oxygen for about 5.5 minutes in order to boost the first stage up to an estimated velocity of 5.7 kilometers per second.
If it explodes, we are sorry that the entirety of Florida will have to suffer the smell.
He jokes.
Of
it will just smell like a giant fart.
What can only be described as a gigantic fart, yes.
And then the upper stage is powered by a legacy engine.
The J2X.
The liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen J2X engine. The J2 has been around since the days of the Apollo era, and we think that it is only fitting that we are launching today in the year of the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11 with a legacy engine from the program.
The guidance system of this rocket is usually armed at T-minus 10 minutes.
T-minus 3.5 minutes.
However, this time we are going to be arming it at T-minus 30 seconds. So we are going to have to keep a close eye on the time that we have. We will give a brief overview of the vehicle during the launch.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting. The vehicle systems today are operating within expected parameters.
T-minus 2,
and inside of our launch control center
15.
today, and inside of our launch control center today, because it's such a momentous occasion, most of the launch controllers, in addition to listening and monitoring their consoles, are listening to the Apollo 13 soundtrack in the background. However, because it's against the rules to play it over in the media booth, we can't play it in our media booth today.
T-minus 2 minutes, 45 seconds.
I've got 2 minutes 18.
I'm slow. Maybe my clock's a bit slow, but okay. We'll go off the... Give me a time at 2. Give me a time at 1:50.
Roger, stand by. We are currently about 2 minutes away from launch. Or no, correction, we are 3 minutes away. So we're at 2:58 and counting. Guidance system is preparing to operate as expected.
According to my clock, it's T-minus 1 minute. We'll just go off mine. And what you can see in the background is, and what you can hear is controller chatter as the clocks begin to break down somehow. 10 minutes till guidance. 10 seconds until guidance start.
Copy that.
Standing by. Guidance start.
And the vehicle's guidance system has come online. All systems are now arming in order to begin flying the Aries II vehicle into low Earth orbit. You're currently seeing the view from ground camera 1 Alpha.
Guidance has called a temporary hold to 10 plus 10 minutes.
Roger, resetting the clock for 10 minutes.
Guidance was not configured.
Roger, clock is reset for 10 minutes. Standing by to be told to release the hold.
The report is that we just needed to add 10 minutes to the launch time, because the guidance system was not configured correctly.
Roger, we are currently counting down from our reset time to a launch at 16:10 Eastern Daylight Time, or 4:10 in Cape
It seems
Canaveral.
like that the mission control team's dogs have just started to bark. Right. That's the last thing we needed. Yeah, against all protocol, we have dogs in the mission control center for some reason.
T-minus 9 minutes and 35 seconds to the liftoff of the Aries II rocket.
Actually, we were unsure until it gets to T-minus 30, because the guidance isn't actually armed.
Did we not load the...
I should also mention that I am also part of the team that developed this code. For the Aries II. Now, if you in the chat would be able to tell us if the audio is alright, please do.
T-minus 8 minutes 50.
As we say, that time is only provisional.
We have a launch window that extends to 16:30 this afternoon, or 4:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
We are free to launch until the end of that window. So this guidance issue, as we would call it, is not fatal, and it will not, and we will not have to scrub for today.
This guidance issue is just a small hiccup.
However, with a new vehicle, it is
T-minus 8 minutes to the launch time.
Approximate launch time. Because it started at the original T-30. So it should be at 21:10 UTC. Well, 21:10 GMT.
21 or 2010?
21:10, 9:10 p.m. UTC. GMT.
I'm looking at UTC.
Add 8 minutes to the current. Or at least to the nearest 10.
7 minutes and 20 seconds. All systems are continuing to count down as expected.
As the organization.
In theory, we should be able to meet our secondary launch time this evening.
We can launch anytime during the window.
However, if it gets to 16:30 and we have not launched, we will have to stand down for the day.
We will have to stand down, and in doing so, we will end up with a completely different mission. In fact, because the secondary mission for this was to go to the moon.
T-minus 6 minutes, 27 seconds, and counting.
However, as the mission control team discussed this, it was decided that it would be better to go off as soon as possible.
The countdown is proceeding within the expected parameters. However, due to the guidance hiccup, we are expected to launch in about 5 minutes and 55 seconds.
Let's just zoom in on the camera. The first stage features foliage mode at the top to ensure that it gets away from the second stage cleanly. As we all know, we do not want the second stage to collide into the first stage.
We do not need a Falcon 1.
Although I have confidence in the structure of the vehicle that it would be able to just survive it, however, there would be a time limit as to how long the engine can run as pushing the second stage before it goes retrograde. We are aiming to go directly to go to the lowest orbit possible today from our launch site at Cape Canaveral.
That orbit is expected to be about 200 kilometers up.
I have the guidance notes here. Guidance note says the apogee to be 220 kilometers and the perigee to be 215.
Yes.
We also have moved over to the Pegas system. We were planning on doing that during the last launch. However, we could not because there was a few errors within the system that prevented that. We have since fixed that by reinstalling. Which is
T-minus 3 minutes, 56 seconds.
Which
the
is
launch team has conducted all of its polls, all of its polls, and has given the go for launch. Vehicle systems are green and ready to fly.
Between the Thunder spacecraft and the rocket itself, there is a pedal adapter. This can be used to send both the Thunder Crew Capsule and a payload. There is nothing inside the pedal adapter today. However, in the next launch, there will be a docking target.
And we have another flight controller joining us in the flight control and media room.
It is Courtney.
Epic.
Hello, how are you?
I'm going to turn up that volume.
We are currently at T-minus 2 minutes and 45 seconds to launch. All systems are go.
All systems are go for the Aries II. The Aries II has been developed as a joint project between what was the ESL development team and the Real Space Program development team. The joint development of this has been secret up until T-minus 3 minutes up to the launch.
Currently T-minus 2 minutes and 10 seconds to the liftoff. Countdown systems proceeding as expected.
the Thunder Capsule service, the Thunder service module has 4 solar panels on its service module to ensure
1 minute, 39 seconds, and counting.
To ensure that we don't encounter the problem of running out of electric power. As we all know, systems do require electricity, such as your phone. When the battery goes, well, in a case of a phone, it's almost flat, then it switches off.
In this case, our astronauts, which can be up to 7, cannot afford to lose power.
If they do,
T-minus 55 seconds and counting to the liftoff of the
do
Real
lose
Space
power, there is
Program's
enough.
Aries II rocket.
There is enough contained for at least 2 days. According to our calculations, although our calculations may be off. Just depends on which astronaut it is. T-minus 30. Guidance is enabled.
The vehicle system is prepared to perform as expected.
T-minus 20. 15. Now what we will see is the rocket drop just slightly after engine ignition. Engine ignition is coming up now.
The information you're seeing on the left is the powered explicit
and the
guidance
engine
system.
is ignited.
And we are now switching back to ground camera alpha view.
Liftoff of the Aries II, carrying the Thunder Crew Capsule on its first mission. Mission to change
Can we switch back to the ground camera, please?
We actually installed new ground cameras. Very
Yes,
clever system.
Could you switch back to the camera tools cameras?
Yes.
Now what you can see on your screen currently is the Mission Control Internal View, or MCIV. This allows for the Mission Control team to be able to view itself as the vehicle heads skyward.
What's just happened is, during that section, is that the guidance system has waited 25 seconds from launch to push the vehicle up down by about 10 degrees. And then it holds prograde. Once the prograde marker, which is that yellow thing that what can only be described as a shrugging V, is currently tracking. We are past Mach 1 and maximum dynamic pressure. Aries II is heading to space.
Our next major flight milestones will be guidance converge, and then the abort tower jettison. Once we don't need the abort tower anymore, it will jettison itself away from the launch vehicle.
You can see if the guidance is converged by the inactive in capital letters. If that doesn't say inactive, then it is either converging, which is portrayed by converge, or active. You can also see the current time. Converging.
You can see at the top of our mission control internal view the altitude.
UFPG is converged. Pitch down complete.
Could we get some zoom, please?
Pitch down complete. 5 seconds until we're now in constant acceleration phase. 2 minutes until stage separation.
You're currently looking at the Mission Control Internal View, or MCIV. Our next major milestone is going to be the abort tower separating off of the launch vehicle.
As of right now, the five Raptor engines are throttling down to maintain 3 Gs of force to ensure a comfortable ride to space for whatever it is carrying, whether it be a satellite or crew. Crew being a more important payload. Also on this mission, we have a dummy named Scott.
Which has been loaded,
Abort
which was
tower
loaded
jettison.
inside of the crew capsule prior to rollout.
Scott is a dummy, much like Starman and Ripley.
And we have abort tower jettison. The launch abort tower is designed to pull the Thunder Capsule away from the rocket during the initial stages of flight, should an anomaly occur.
If it decides to blow up. The capsule. Put it in other words, internally we call it the yeeter rocket. Because it yeets the capsule from a booster that is yeeting itself.
Currently, all systems are maintaining their nominal performance as we continue to head towards space. The Thunder Capsule thundered away from Florida a little over 3.5 minutes ago.
It didn't thunder, the engines had a fart. We're now getting reports from the launch pad that it smells bad.
Our next mission, we will have the crew tower fully constructed. We are now approaching the first stage. We are now approaching 1-2 staging.
10 seconds until staging. Guidance is holding attitude, preparing for staging. Miko. Stage separation. And ignition on the J2X. J2X full thrust. "200 seconds until orbit." I'm now going to run you down the the interface on the guidance system. At the top we have the version of the guidance. One line down from that we have the time into the mission and the current time. In the next line there is the name of the mission. Below that there is the internal stage and how long it has left in brackets, and then the guidance status. Below that is the throttle, and then the time to go, which is how long we've got until we get into orbit. Line below that is the acceleration, which is how many meters per second we are gaining every second, hence the squared. And the velocity to go. This is how much speed we need to get into orbit. Below that we have much information about the target orbit and the current orbit. Altitude is how far above the ground we are. If it is going down and we are below 10 kilometers, we are crashing or landing. Next to that is the target altitude, which is 215 kilometers.
I'm sure our viewers are familiar with the rest of this information.
There is also the velocity, which is the current speed we are going. And our target velocity, which is the orbital velocity. I would go into the maths, but I'm pretty sure your eyes would bleed. We have the all-important vertical speed, which we convert using the power of rocket engines into an orbit. The closer to zero that is, the better. Then we have the perigee, or the periapsis, as some people call it. If it is negative and your engines aren't burning, and you have no heat shield, you are going to become a fried egg. Then we have the periapsis, or the highest point in the orbit.
You mean apoapsis?
Yes.
Systems are currently operating as expected. We have about 90 seconds to go until we achieve orbit.
65 seconds. Then we have the inclination, which is what degree of latitude is our minimum and maximum. The minimum degree of latitude being 28.61. The minimum being negative 28.61. Below that is longitude of ascending node, which is very complicated. and the angle
All
between
systems are currently running
orbits,
as expected.
which is the degrees of separation between both the target orbit and our current orbit.
Coming up on shutdown momentarily.
T plus 7 minutes 40 seconds.
Standing by for the shutdown of the second stage engine, the J2X will shut off using having used one of its 4 ignitions in order to be able to push the payload
guidance
into
Seeker.
low Earth orbit.
Seeker.
And we have the call out that the second stage engine has shut down.
214.7 by 225.1.
And we have a nominal orbit.
Altitude 2150. Trajectory reports a good orbit. We have also installed new systems on our mission control simulation. This allows us to actually see what the mission controller is doing, specifically the launch vehicle, specifically our new role, which is the launch vehicle secondary controller. This person has full control of the vehicle. We just need to hope they don't go rogue. Incidentally,
on this flight, we are unsure of what our next major steps are going to be. We are contemplating.
we can't go to the moon.
We have multiple options on the table being discussed at this point, including sending.
We cannot go to the moon with this orbit.
No, including sending the capsule to a extremely high altitude and having it operate as if it were on a lunar re-entry.
There is also the fact that a lunar re-entry may not be even used in full operation of this crew vehicle.
The vehicle you're currently seeing is coasting over the Atlantic Ocean, east of Florida and east of Bermuda, and is currently communicating through the RSAT communications network. So, as we stand by to determine what we are going to do next, we would like to thank you all for tuning in to this afternoon's broadcast of the Real Space Program launch of the Aries II rocket.
I think we are going to extend it until we've made a decision of what we're going to do.
Roger. Currently being discussed in the mission control room as I'm listening to the mission control
there is currently a democratic vote.
Is whether or not we go ahead with a boost up to higher altitudes, which would simulate a lunar re-entry, or whether we continue with a low Earth orbit operations test.
It looks like,
and we must have moved beyond communications range.
I think they're getting pieces of the paper out, and I think they're going to vote on it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, watching the telemetry, we appear to have moved beyond communications range, or we don't have communications to the ground.
Doesn't look like we do. As we said, this is a test, so you know this is a test. Things will go wrong. And that is an example of things going wrong. However, things going wrong isn't bad, because the more things go wrong, the more we learn. Unless all the data gets the only time where we don't learn something is if something explodes during. Well, we do, but we don't because plasma.
Meanwhile, the Real Space Program also behind the scenes has been developing a small two-man orbital-capable spaceship that is designed on a similar basis of a much larger seven-crewed spaceplane.
It does not include solid boosters.
These boosters use the derelict E-1 rocket motor from the Titan IV missile and J-2 motors from the Apollo space era.
I mean, this capsule is effectively Gemini era, because it's based entirely off Big G designs with a few optimizations.
And I believe the flight control team down in the pit has made the decision.
Someone's coming up here to the door. Oh. Yep, we are going to do a LEO. We're going to go to lunar, or as high as we can go, as we are unsure as to how much delta V we need. A lunar altitude. This means we are not going to the moon, but we are going to the same altitude as what the moon would be.
Or just slightly below that in order to be able to simulate a lunar re-entry with the Thunder Capsule.
Yes.
That should take about 3 or 4 days to do, as they've ordered several
There is
more
also
hours
the.
of
We will
low
also
Earth
be
orbit
conducting
testing.
a test of the service module engine at this altitude. And maybe even doing a higher orbital insertion. We will then spend a few days at a high altitude, so it's easier to get our perigee down into the atmosphere, and then we will come down in a ball of flames. Well, it's really plasma, but it looks like flames.
Where we are expected to be recovered. International navies, since this is a program through the United Nations, have offered to support us.
One of two options can happen because our trajectory systems are highly in development. In fact, most of the piloting for the deorbit and the re-entry will be naturally done.
So we are just now standing by to receive communications back from the capsule in order to confirm that it is healthy
in about 2
and in good orbit.
minutes. We already have confirmation of a good orbit. We are just waiting to test the systems, such as the solar panels, as we will be deploying the solar system.
Let us switch to the map view that the mission control room is looking at now in order to determine when our next communications point will be. Never mind about that. We expect to regain communications just over the coast of Africa.
We will also be uploading the recording of this live stream after the live stream. this has been more rocky than usual, I think.
I agree. For some reason, we didn't have a uplink to our
Stream.
satellite systems.
Yeah. We also had some issues down in the IT department regarding starting the stream itself. So a bit more about this vehicle. This vehicle was originally under the codename of Carrier Carissa, the launcher being the Carrier and the crew capsule being the Carissa crew capsule. It was a design created by the ESL design group about a year ago. It has been rebirthed into the Aries II Thunder Capsule. We also have AOS.
Copy that. We are now standing by to begin the planning of the boost
Solar
up to
panels test look good.
high altitudes
Are we
as
getting
we
power?
approach the coast of Africa.
We are getting power.
Roger. So our power systems
Look good.
are generated by 4 small solar panels, which are deployed around the main body of the service module.
Small solar panels in relation to the ISS.
Our next major flight milestone is the activation of the
ullage
and reaction control thrusters on the second stage.
Staged. Standing by.
Roger, let us plot our maneuver.
We have thrust. And we have also just lost connection.
Roger.
Standing by for the next connection. We will have terrible connection until the spacecraft separates. We are taking a look for the Delta V readout, which is 3 kilometers per second, which is way more than enough. We are also going to be testing out the systems in the vehicle, which we can access from the ground. So we just create that node. What altitude would the moon be at, forgotten?
Let's go up to, say, 100,000.
Change Apple app. Next. That looks correct.
Roger. We are now standing by. We have a half an hour's coast until we hit our maneuver.
The mission control team is going to need all hands. That includes the media team, because the media team is indeed fully qualified to act as mission controllers.
The main mission control team appears to be in a panic over the lack of communications and the fact that the RSATs are not providing any communications at this point. Why they're in a panic, I do not understand.
Me neither. Obviously, this is a new mission, and it also has new communication protocols, so it may not even be compatible.
That would mean a new launch. That would mean the launch of the RSAT Gen 1A, 1AA missions. The second A indicates it is a second generation.
Ironically, the ESL satellite group was also working on a very small satellite that is a communication satellite that could be used on an Atlas V 401 to GTO, which is insane. I think we may as well just have a quick round of random facts. Maybe. As the simulation begins to lag a bit. We also have
Roger.
connection. We also have connection.
Roger, let's get pointed to our maneuver and get the maneuver loaded in.
We are rotated to the maneuver node.
Roger.
There's also discussion in the team to just go as soon as possible with the node. Which would be beneficial from my point of view in the media room. Because we are unsure as to whether we would get communications. We have two flight computers, an advanced flight computer and a non-advanced flight computer. One of them can operate without the other one needs a downlink due to CPU problems.
Roger. The control team has made a decision.
They're going for it in 1 minute. So we can see the guys reprogramming the system to do it in 5 minutes to ensure that just to make sure that should the problems persist, obviously we are still exploring.
Again, this is a test mission, so
we may accidentally go nowhere, or we may accidentally end up yeeting it into space. The guidance is still having some second faults. Over communications.
I believe 2 minutes is a better.
Or we could just do it in 1 minute. We are just going to burn manually.
Roger.
That seems to be the decision by the guidance officer, who in this test mission does have the final say.
Let's head to 100. then.
Flying manually. Never really been done before in space. Going at 133. Target 9.5 for a safety net.
All right, we're go.
Yes.
Standing by for the 100,000.
100,000.
Are we not going to the 100,000, or is it doing something automatic? Despite being the flight director, I'm not actually in the...
Obviously, the incompetence of the flight crew seems to be. We may even just burn out.
They didn't brief me on
I don't think anybody got briefed.
any of that information, so... Coming up on shutdown momentarily.
Shutdown. 104.
Copy that.
Of course, we do deeply apologize for the quality of this content. But getting used to new systems requires some bad quality. If you've ever done something, you're always bad at it before you get good. Standing by for Thunder Capsule separation. We have no idea whether the capsule is going to even work. And
We're standing by for
we
deployment.
have successful deployment.
Roger.
Already deployed.
Next major flight milestones are going to be HTA activation.
HGA is activated. RCS thrusters look good.
Roger that.
Pulling away. We are now in our avoidance. We now in our avoidance stage. Turn until we are approximately 100 meters away from the capsule. From the, this is the capsule. From the stage 2. .5 roll. 90, 95, 100. Burn shut down. Thunder is deployed and safe. Mission success. We are just waiting for the confirmation of full mission success. It appears that we have had a semi-successful mission. We can confirm we have had a successful test launch. The more we launch this vehicle, the better we will get at it. Any final words from you, US?
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. It was a very successful flight this afternoon. We launched a little bit behind schedule, but that was to be expected with operating a new vehicle.
We were even unsure as to whether we were actually going to launch.
We know this has been a long anticipated mission, and
we may have had a few hiccups. However, if you remember back to when RSP was first formed,
this is our newest crewed vehicle. If you remember the Scorpius Solaris missions, those missions, that one flight with crew on board ended in a orbital abort. However, I am pleased to say that our manned space program team is back on the ball.
Wait, I've just remembered. Is anybody even in the Gagarin station?
Gagarin station, we need to re-update it.
Yeah, we are doing a second version of that.
Gagarin station is also being upgraded.
Relaunched. Well, not relaunched, but it is being relaunched as version 2. Sequel. That nobody asked for.
Gagarin Station Electric Boogaloo.
Correct. I have been Kevin Orbiter. I still am, apparently.
And my name is UACE, taking a break from my flight controller job today. Thank you for coming in and having a look at our missions.
And it still will be RSP for many years to come. We hope to launch many more things in the future.
Thank you for watching.
Stace. Thank you for watching.